Okay, welcome everyone. Today's lightning talk is about Safe in Cloud Password Manager. My name is Joe Kunk. I have been on the board of GLUG NET for somewhere around 21 years. Uh, I didn't have any trouble getting an invite to do the talk. and and so Safe in Cloud is the database or is the database password manager that I use, and I've been happy with it. I've used it for years. There are other good ones out there. I'm not saying it's the only one. What really the purpose of this talk is so that if you don't use a password manager, I'm going to help explain why you should, and you should do it quickly, and hopefully give you enough of a picture of how this one works, and so that you would at least give it some consideration. Um, and I have no interest in this product other than I'm a happy user. I don't have any, investment in it whatsoever, other than, like I said, I'm a user. So one key point that we need to make is that a password manager is no longer optional. The attacks are increasing rapidly in both sophistication and frequency, and almost any personal information that you share online can be used against you. So you have to be really careful about what you do share. Um, and it's likely that you already have had your information exposed on the internet, and that someone other than yourself has seen that information. So a password manager can't protect you from everything, but it's a very, very good first step, and without it, you're at significant risk. And you think, well, why would they attack me? Well, they aren't necessarily attacking you; they're pretty much attacking everybody. Um, I don't want you to feel like you're special if you get attacked. And so the attacks are available by a software as a service. So basically, a bad actor who's interested in trying to make some money through nefarious means can essentially subscribe to a service that gives him all the tools he needs to attack. So you don't even have to be sophisticated or smart necessarily to be a good hacker, and that really makes it a risky proposition for pretty much anyone on the internet. So you think, well, I'll just pick the password manager my buddy uses, and that's good enough. Well, not all password managers are made equally. And some of the issues that happen with password managers are that you can have monthly fees that really add up over time. Um, they can be difficult to use, and they can have important features missing. Uh, and a good password manager, you'll end up putting a lot of very varied information in there, not just your passwords. And you'll see that when I do a short little view of my instance. And you want something that's flexible. You can put a lot of information in there, whether it doesn't even necessarily have to be passwords. For example, I keep my wife and I our medical history in there because I know it's encrypted and I know it's protected and it's easy to get to. And that's not necessarily a password, but it's something definitely that I want to keep private. And your password manager may not be available on all your devices. It might become unavailable if you don't have internet service, which could be a problem. And you want to make sure that you select a password manager where the database itself, the information you put into it, will not be exposed. And it has happened. LastPass had a breach in 2022. Norton LifeLock also had a breach in the year 2022, so it was not a good year for password managers. Bitwarden announced a vulnerability in 2023. They weren't necessarily attacked, but they identified a way that an attack could have occurred, and that left some risk for users of Bitwarden for a period of time in 2023. And then finally, OnePass had a vulnerability exposed in 2023 as well. So, and it wasn't in their software necessarily, but in a service provided by one of their components, the Okta component. So, you can't assume that just because you're in a password manager that you're safe. You have to pay attention and make a good choice at the beginning, and then even monitor the news further on in case something happens. But I think there's ways to get around some of those issues, certainly. So my preferred password manager is Safe in Cloud. It's safe-in-cloud.com. It's been around since 2012, so it's certainly not a new tool. And to counter the disadvantages I mentioned in the previous slide, it is affordable. It's a one-time purchase. There are no monthly fees. It's a desktop app that is easy to use. It's got lots of features. I literally use it on a daily basis, even if I'm not necessarily signing into an account. The information card can contain almost any information. And one of the nice features is it's got a really super fast search, and I can show that on my very short demo here and within 15 minutes. It has the same data that's shared across Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android, and both Apple Watch and Android Watch. So the reach of the data is quite extensive. The database syncs with your device, and it's available offline. So if the internet goes out, you still have all your data. It can optionally autofill the passwords in Chrome, Firefox, or Edge, or you can just copy paste the password information manually. It's up to you. The encrypted password database in this case is stored on your Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, or even a NAS server if you're on a NAS server with the WebDAV interface. So there is no corporate database to get hacked or that would release your information because it's sitting in your particular Dropbox account. So assuming that you have a decent password on your Dropbox account and keep that secure, they would have to hack into your Dropbox account to have any chance of access to your file. And your file is AES 256 encrypted, so even if they got it, it would, I mean, that's industrial strength bank military style encryption. So with a good password, you're good there. And they do have email-based customer support. I've used it once or twice. They say they'll respond within 2 days, but both times I used it, I got a response within a couple hours. And there are some videos that you can go to, youtube.com /safeincloud/videos if you want to learn more about it without necessarily installing it. As I mentioned, it's got AES 256 encrypted password. You can back up the file locally. So even though it's on your Dropbox, I have it back up to my local drive every 2 days. So even if I lost access to my Dropbox, I would have my password database no more than 2 days old. And I don't put stuff in so fast that should be an issue. And as I said, the developer has absolutely no access to your data. It's sitting on your private file store. The HTTPS cloud sync, at least for me, in the years I've used it, has never failed. I've never lost a card because the sync went wrong. And if you've ever tried to program a file sync, it's sometimes difficult, especially over internet. There is the autofill that can prevent copy and paste attacks. Like any good password manager, it's got an easy to use password generator. It tells you how complex it is and how long it would take to hack. It'll say centuries, hopefully, if you picked a good one. It gives you a good password history, so you know what your previous password was. A lot of times you'll go on a website, you'll change your password, and then it'll say, please put in your previous password and your new one. Well, you need to know what the old one was if you happen to have already updated your card. So, and that's not an issue there. They have the history. It'll warn you if you have a weak password. It'll warn you if you have a duplicate password. And it does support the biometric logins on your devices. So such a thing as, Face ID or fingerprint ID to get into the system with your computer or phone. You can set an auto lock timeout where after that timeout you'd have to re-authenticate to use it again. You can set an optional password attempt. You can set it to say, hey, if someone puts the wrong password in X number of times, then delete my database. I don't tend to do that because I don't want my database deleted, but you have that option. And you can generate it now. In the most recent release, it has generate the one-time passcode like a Google Authenticate or a Microsoft Authenticator. So you can actually move that functionality into your password manager as well and have it all in one place. Some of the ease of use features that it has a quick log on. So you want to have a nice complex password for your password database because you don't want anybody to guess it. And that means logging in, if you had to type it in every time, would really be a pain. So they have an optional setting in their security where you can say, I want to type in the first 4 characters of my password or the last 4 characters of my password, and that'll get me in. But that's only after you've done the full password at least once since the last time you shut it down. So it'll say you must be you because you did use the big password. So I'll let you use the short one from now on until you close it, which is a great way to make it convenient. As I said, it's got super fast search. You got favorite cards. The cards themselves are very flexible. You can add all kinds of different fields to it. You can set up templates, custom templates. You can set it to be identified by the web icon of the website. So if I go out to Disney.com, I can have the little Disney icon be on the card so I can easily visually find it quickly. It has a secret type where it doesn't validate the strength of the password, but it does hide it. And if someone's standing beside you, looking over your shoulder, you don't want them to see your account number, you can just dibble that out, but it still works as if it was visible. And you can categorize or label cards. You can attach files, but use it sparingly because the bigger the database, the longer it takes to encrypt and decrypt. So sometimes, though, you'll have a application that'll do a one-time display of a passcode, and you want to have that. And I just screenshot that little tiny bit of the screen and attach it as a file because I don't want, maybe I don't want to retype it. One of the best things about the newest version 2.0, is that it allows multiple databases, and so you can separate home passwords from work passwords if you're one of those work from home folks like me. Or you can have a his and hers password database if you want to share with your wife. You can copy over cards. So if you wanted to have a separate password for your wife, but there's certain things you want to both have the password for, you can duplicate that over to hers, or if you're to your significant other, his or hers. And you can archive the cards, so you didn't necessarily delete them, but you can move them out of your search and out of your visibility, but they're still there. It can warn you if a credit card is expiring, or if you have an ID card that's expiring, if your passport's expiring, perhaps it'll warn you, hey, this expiration date's coming up. So a lot of features. And the other concern, of course, you say, well, these things are all really great, but if I can't afford it, what's the point? So the way it works is you pay for the major version. They're on major version 2, Safe and Cloud 2. And in the, I don't know, maybe at least 8 or 9 years I've used it, I've only paid an upgrade once. So my monetary outlay has been pretty low. And you want to pay for a password manager. A free one would be terrible because they're going to make money somehow. And if you're not paying for it, somebody else will be. So you want to make sure you're paying for it so they have a motivation to be a good product and keep giving you good service. The Safe and Cloud 2 database has a option of doing annual pricing if you want to do that, or for slightly more money, you can do a lifetime license of that version. But again, we've only done 2 versions in, I think it's close to 8 years. So it's not bad to pay for a full version. And the main feature that they released in version 2 was to have multiple databases, and I wanted to have that. If that had not been a critical feature for me, then I could have continued to use version 1 indefinitely. So the cost is $39 a year for a single user, $40 a year for up to 6 family members. If you want to pay per year, if you want to pay for a permanent license, as it says here, it's $99 or $120. It's for the amount of benefit you get from it, for how often you use it, for the cost that you would incur if you actually did get attacked or compromised. This, in my mind, this is a trivial expense. $20 a user for lifetime, protection of your data. That's just, to me, amazing. So that's it from the slide standpoint. I know this is only a lightning talk, so I didn't do a lot of preparation of a demo, but I will show it slightly. And let me pull it up here. I had it already signed in. I'll minimize this so you can see it a little bit better. See my productivity chart on my background. This is my actual database that I maintain. If I control zoom in here, look at my card count, 1,759. So I use it for everything. And it still loads very fast, still searches very fast. I have, as you can see here, I have the, our medical results here. I've got the sign in to .NET Rocks. Because it's just so easy to have it here, find it, and click on a button to pull up the web page. This is essentially my entire web index of things I use. And let me cancel this back. And I'm just going to use it as I show here. There's 1759. I just type the word demo, and boom, I filtered to only 12 cards, just that fast, just blazing fast. And I mentioned that it can have multiple databases. There's the main database, and here's work. So if I click on work, I only have one card with the word demo in it. It's the actual card I'm going to demo. And so I'll increase this a little bit and pop it up and show you some things that I do. Here is the card expanded. And when you expand the card, you see everything, right? There's no secrets at that point. But the types of fields you can do. Let me give you an example. Let's say that this login, I don't want people to see this login. You'll notice that my logon isn't joekunk@gmail.com. It's something crazy, right? Because I can. If the website supports it, I will do that. My usernames are random characters and numbers. The same thing here. Like a lot of times you'll go onto a website and it'll say, what's your mother's maiden name? Well, because I have a password manager to track all this, and I don't really necessarily have to remember, my mother's maiden name on this demo website is Angela Merkel. On another website, it might be, Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter, right? I can look it up. And what city were you born in? Casablanca, Morocco. Why not? So I'd never answer the actual true thing when I answer these questions. I figure, well, if somebody breaks into my account and tries to figure out my first dog's name or first pet's name, doesn't matter because it's going to be, Sasquatch, right? So you can see I can just quickly, hide these PIN numbers, of course, dates. Any website you do, you just click the icon and it pulls that website right up, which is very convenient. And then if we do passwords, there I can show the password. One thing that's kind of nice, I'll zoom in. The numbers are in a different font color than the letters. So sometimes it can be hard to tell a 9 from it can be hard to tell an 8 from a B, if the font's a little difficult, things like that. So it's a number, and that really helps to visually read the password. Of course, that password is one I made up. Let me see if we have a history on this. Yes. So that's the L7 is the current password, but I had 2 different passwords before that. I'll zoom in a little bit to show you. So I had 2 different passwords before that on that card. It's per card, which is, like I said, can be really helpful. Sometimes I'll change my password at work and it'll take on the Active Directory account at work. But since I wasn't using my laptop's still signing on in Windows on the old password because it never connected yet. I work remote. I'm not connected to the network computer or the corporate system. So I'll have to log on with my old password on the laptop until I finally get it connected into the corporate network to have it refresh to the current password. And so this has been really helpful in that kind of situation. And it tells you the date when it's modified. This particular card, I think you have notes, so you can add notes. And this is where I really use it for things that are not necessarily security. Notes, whatever. I'm not typing very good, but you can see the notes are down here, and I can have as many notes as I want. You can't have fonts and pretty print, but it's text. But still, you have the ability to notes. Um, and since this is just so available and it's always on my phone and so easy to search, like I like to travel down to Tennessee, and so one of my cards is all the Costco and Meyer gas stations on my way to Tennessee and what exit they are, because that's where I want to get my gas. It had nothing to do with security. It's just convenient. Uh, and so that's really basically the point I want to point out here. On the left, you can have favorites. You can categorize by credit cards. You can make your own categories. Um, if I go back to the main database, you'll see I've dibbled out things that I think are potentially sensitive. One thing on my left here, and not to be morbid, but on my left, since this has all of my information that I'm ever going to, that I really, really need to keep secret and manage, one of my top label there, let's see, yeah, underneath labels is death. And what that is if I were to pass, right? I'm trying not to, I hope that doesn't happen. But if I were to pass, that label is on every major financial account that my wife would need to know about to settle my affairs. It's got my life insurance, my bank accounts, my investment accounts, they're all under that label of death, so that, if she needs to, and I hope she never does, she has easy access to figure out what does she have to know right away to make those kind of contacts. And that's just because, you care about your spouse and you want them to not have to suffer through that experience anymore, and they have to, so let's make that easy for them. That was my reasoning. So, and then due point, of course, is things that are related to work that I haven't moved over to the work account yet. So, any questions on this? As I said, there are other ones that are maybe just as good. My position would be, I would not be disappointed if you use a different password manager, but I would be disappointed if you don't use any. So pick one that works for you and use it, because even a bad one's better than nothing. And every account I have has a different password. If I get hacked and that password gets out, they get exactly one account.
Yeah, I have a question, Joe, specifically around the one-time passwords.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard varying stances on that, where some people say, that should be in a separate application from your password manager. That way, if someone were to get into your password manager, they don't have both your password and the ability to get that two-factor authentication.
Okay.
But other people said, oh, if it's secured, it's also really convenient just to have it in one spot. So I wonder what your take on that is.
I mentioned that the capability is there because it is. I personally use Google Authenticator as my preferred password manager, or one-time authentication, and it's for that reason, right? I don't want to have them both in the same place. Paranoia runs deep, and that's a good way to help satisfy that paranoia. And you really shouldn't have your passwords and your authentication codes in the same place. So I agree with that. I like Google Authenticate over Microsoft Authenticator only because migrating to a new desktop, a new version of Windows, so I get a new computer and I want to migrate my Google Authenticated codes over to the new computer. That's very, very easy to do with Google. It's actually pretty hard to do with Microsoft. And Microsoft, you actually have to generate new codes and basically go back to each one of your accounts and ask them for another TFA key. But with Google, it was easy for me to move to another computer, and so for that reason, that's why I use it.
Makes sense. Thank you.
All right. So for short and sweet, that's what we got.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.